Today is Friday, September 1st. We'll tell you what record was just broken at the U.S Mexico border and what's being done about it. Also, the U.S. could get closer to universal background checks on guns even without Congress. We'll explain. Plus, everything you need to know about Labor Day weekend travel. Why X says it needs to collect a lot more data about its users. And want to see what all the Eras Tour hype is about? The Taylor Swift phenomenon is now coming to movie theaters. Those stories and more news in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, the number of families crossing into the U.S. illegally through the southern border reached all-time highs last month. The latest data given to the Washington Post shows U.S. Border Patrol arrested at least 91,000 migrants who crossed as part of a family group just in August. And families were apparently the single largest demographic group crossing the border. That's the first time since President Biden took office that single adults did not make up the largest group. A Homeland Security spokesperson told the Post the Biden administration is trying to slow down this surge, that the government ramped up deportation flights carrying families, and it's been publishing footage on Spanish-language media. There's another new approach, too. The Biden administration has been monitoring some migrant families with ankle bracelets while processing them for potential deportation. Depending on who you ask, some think this is all too harsh or too lenient. But as the Wall Street Journal explains it, it's meant to be a middle ground between detaining parents and their children in jails, which has been limited in courts, or releasing them into the U.S. to wait years for their turn in immigration court. And the Biden administration says it's looking to expand that program now. There's another new effort to end the so-called gun show loophole, and this one does not involve Congress. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF, proposed this new rule. It would require anyone who earns any profit selling guns to get a federal license and mandate background checks. And that's a change, since under current rules, sellers have only had to take those steps if they make their full living by selling guns. So private dealers have been able to sell tens of thousands of guns each year out of their homes, flea markets, websites, and of course gun shows, all without running any background checks. The new rule is now up for public comment for the next 2 months before it can go into effect, though it will likely be longer since it's expected to be challenged in court. Justice Clarence Thomas is facing some fresh scrutiny for accepting free trips and more from a conservative billionaire. News outlets have already been reporting on some of them, but this week, Thomas released his full financial disclosure form from last year. And in an unusual move, the justice attached a statement to defend himself. The form discloses 3 trips on the private jet of Texas billionaire Harlan Crow, who also happens to be a big Republican donor. One of those trips was for a luxury vacation at Crow's estate. Plus, the form details how Crow bought property from Thomas's family. Well, when it comes to the private jet flights, Thomas says he was advised to avoid commercial travel ever since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which took away the constitutional right to abortions. And with the real estate deal, he says he made a lot of improvements to the property over the years, so the transaction amounted to a capital loss. Bottom line, he says he followed all judicial regulations. Though unlike other federal judges, Supreme Court justices are not bound by formal ethics rules, and the court not adopting a code of conduct has drawn bipartisan criticism, and some have suggested reforms are in the works. Meanwhile, there are also some questions coming up about President Biden's recent trip to Lake Tahoe, since he and his family rented the home of billionaire Tom Steyer. Steyer invests in environmentally friendly companies, and Biden has been steering federal policy and funding toward green energy initiatives. It's not clear what the terms were on the rental agreement, but local officials in Nevada say Steyer does not have a permit to be renting out his home. So far, Steyer and the Bidens have not commented. U.S. Capitol's top health official cleared Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell to get back to work. It came one day after he froze for the second time during a public news conference. Well, the Capitol's attending physician checked him out and described the episode as lightheadedness. He says that happens in concussion recovery, and McConnell did suffer concussion after a fall earlier this year. Or the doctor says it could have been dehydration. But either way, he said McConnell could go on with his usual schedule. Still, Politico reports there's a handful of GOP senators who are considering holding a special meeting about their leadership once they return to Washington next week. What was once Hurricane Idalia is now officially out of the U.S., so cleanup mode is in full force. The good news is there's nowhere near the widespread devastation and high death toll from this storm as there was after Ian that struck Florida last September. And that's a relief, since a lot of forecasters expected a repeat of Ian with Idalia. Instead, Idalia ended up hitting a more sparsely populated area, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says a lot of locals listened to the evacuation orders this time around. Still, for people who live in the small towns where the storm did hit, there's a long road to recovery ahead. Remember, there were homes flooded and trees and power lines blown down. Moody's Analytics put the preliminary cost for Idalia at between $12 and $20 billion. And that's a lot, the costliest weather disaster to hit the U.S. so far this year. But for comparison, Ian caused about $113 billion in damage. For the aftermath of this latest storm, just like with Ian, President Biden approved emergency declarations for Florida and South Carolina, which will send more federal resources in to help the states recover. And Biden plans to travel to Florida tomorrow to see the damage himself. We have more news coming up, but first, I want to let you know about our sponsor, Miracle Made. Are you the type of person that has to do anything particular before you get in bed? I used to always shower in the mornings, but in recent years, I've switched to showering at night so I can feel extra clean getting into bed. Still, the reality is, unwashed traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat. That's why Miracle Made offers a whole line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that are infused with silver, preventing 99% of bacteria, and therefore requiring 3 times less laundry. It gives me a lot of peace of mind, along with the softness and comfort of these sheets. So go to trymiracle.com/newsworthy to try Miracle Made sheets today. You can save over 40%, and if you use the promo newsworthy at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/newsworthy and use the code newsworthy to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/newsworthy. This Labor Day weekend is expected to be especially busy, capping off the busiest summer travel season on record. CBS News reports nearly 60% of Americans say they plan to take a trip for Labor Day. So expect extra crowds, traffic, and some delays. Another thing to keep in mind, Labor Day weekend gas prices are nearing all-time highs for this time of year. The national average for regular gas right now is $3.83 a gallon. That's 35 cents higher than the average back in July. But while it's going to be more expensive to drive than most summers, it is getting cheaper to fly. Travel destination site Hopper says airfare for domestic flights this year has been costing on average $226 a ticket. That's down 20% from Labor Day in 2019. And after Labor Day, prices are expected to go down even more, even for international flights. This week, the Swiss banking giant UBS reported record-breaking profits. The bank says it brought in $29 billion over the last few months. And that's the biggest quarterly profit in banking history. This comes after UBS integrated its one-time rival, Credit Suisse, into its business. Remember, UBS acquired Credit Suisse for $3.8 billion earlier this year in the largest bank takeover since the 2008 financial crisis. At the time, analysts and investors said that price was a big discount. And now UBS's latest financial results seem to show they were right. That said, the bank does still have some work to do before completing the acquisition. And the New York Times reports uniting the two banks will lead to some 3,000 job losses. Still, UBS shareholders seem happy. Shares in the bank closed up more than 6% yesterday and now trade at their highest level since the summer of 2008. X, formerly Twitter, says it's going to start collecting a lot more information about its users, like biometric data. X did not say exactly what it plans to collect, but biometric data usually means what's taken from facial recognition software, fingerprint taking, or palm and iris scanning. X says it's needed for safety, security, and identification purposes, like to make sure the person making the account is really who they say they are. Plus, X says it's going to collect information on users' employment and education history, among other things. The platform says that's important so it can recommend potential jobs for you and show you more relevant advertising. Social media companies have long been criticized over the information they gather and how they use that data. But X says, at least for now, all users won't have to provide anything, and that it's mostly necessary for premium users with subscriptions to get their blue check marks. Though the new privacy policy doesn't specify which users can opt in or out of biometric data sharing. Taylor Swift already has the highest grossing tour of all time. And now she's going from filling stadiums to movie theaters. A concert film was shot during the pop superstar's recent 6-night run in Southern California. And soon it will be playing at the largest theater chains like AMC, Regal, and Cinemark. Tickets went on sale this week. And just like with the actual Eras tour, seats are filling up fast. Its run in movie theaters starts on October 13th. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break for our sponsor, Lumi Deodorant. I have had some bad experiences with other deodorants in the past, and the one I used to like was just not working for me anymore. But then I was pleasantly surprised with Lumi. It actually works for me, and I am really impressed with how long it helps me feel fresh and smell great. Makes sense, since Lumi is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Of course, I also appreciate that it's aluminum-free and paraben-free. And I love that Lumi has a bunch of different products to choose from, like their deodorant wipes are really convenient for on the go, whether that's post-gym or post-work or during travel. And you can use it on your underarms, your feet, anywhere. In fact, Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like those deodorant wipes I mentioned, as well as a mini body wash, which I've been loving in the clean tangerine scent. Oh, and you can get free shipping too. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with code NEWSWORTHY at LumiDeodorant.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit Lumi Deodorant, L-U-M-E, LumiDeodorant.com, and use the code NEWSWORTHY. Okay, now back to Feel Good Friday. A Texas veteran who just published his first book has become an overnight bestseller, all thanks to TikTok. The story starts at a grocery store in Fort Worth. Sean Warner was sitting alone at a table with a stack of books in front of him, ready to sign. Not many people were approaching him, so a TikToker who goes by Red decided to strike up a conversation and then asked if he could post about his book on social media. Warner said yes, and that video ended up going viral. Before his TikTok fame, Warner had only sold about 150 copies of his novel. Then, once the video went up, it became the #1 bestseller on Amazon Books. Red says he never expected that big of a reaction, but just wanted to say hello and give him a chance to pitch his book to his followers. Warner told the Today Show, quote, "It brightened up my day, and then it brightened up my life." Warner has actually wanted to be a writer since early childhood, and now that his first book has done well, he's writing even more. For now, though, sales are still coming in for his debut book. It's a young adult murder mystery novel called Lee Howard and the Ghosts of Simmons Pierce Manor. We'll add a link to it in today's episode notes. We'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode about what happens behind the scenes of reality TV. We talked to one of the former Real Housewives stars about her experience. Then we're off for the Labor Day holiday on Monday, so we'll be back with your next news roundup on Tuesday. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great long weekend.